thrilling days of yesteryear. We normally do our shows in Oak Park, the suburb of Chicago. We recreate old-time radio shows that are popular from the golden age of radio. Today we have a very special show. On the evening of June 5th, 1944, families all throughout the country said goodnight and went to bed at the end of another ordinary day. Those who happened to be awake and listening to the radio at 12:41 a.m. Eastern Time would have heard the announcer make an unprecedented announcement. The Allied invasion had begun. Throughout the entire day of June 6th, the airwaves were filled with updates, commentary, and interviews with those overseas to offer insight as to what was happening. Everyone was riveted to their radios. This was a time, remember, before 24-hour cable news channels, before television even, before the internet and Facebook and Twitter. This was when all of your news came through the newspaper or on the airwaves. Today, in honor of the greatest crusade in American history, we will give you a taste of what it might have been like if you were one of those American families on the home front as we bring you a condensed version of that fateful day as the announcements appeared on CBS and NBC radio, along with music commentary from around the world. You will hear the news as it was first revealed, and then witness its evolution from rumor to full fact as we honor those men and women and families overseas and at home who helped this cause over 70 years ago. So while you are listening, you might pretend you are one of those who had the fortune of being in the live audience as they watch their favorite performers do their thing. Or perhaps you might just wish to sit back, close your eyes, and imagine that you are sitting in your own living room in front of the old Philco radio, anxiously awaiting for the programs and the announcements and the updates. So join us now as we take you back to those thrilling days of yesteryear. Our story begins in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Henry Johnson of Anytown, USA. It's after midnight, and the kids had long been in bed, curled up with their favorite toy, Becky with her doll and Jimmy with his train. Helen is curled up in bed, reading her book, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, that her friend Betty told her about, while waiting for Henry to come home from work. For several months now, he's been putting in extra time from his regular job, working the third shift at the munitions factory, and is finally coming home after a long day.
Henry, is that you?
Yes, dear.
Another long night?
Yeah, but we're doing a good thing.
Are you coming up to bed?
No, I'm kind of awake. I'm going to pour myself a drink and we'll listen to some music on the radio for a while. Harry James should be on now.
All right, but keep it down. You don't want to wake the kids.
All right, dear. I'll be up soon. Good night.
Good night. Be quiet when you come up. I've got an early appointment at the hairdresser's tomorrow, so I need to get some sleep.
All right. See you in the morning.
The time is now 12:45 a.m. Eastern Wartime. And now back to our program with the music of Harry James and his orchestra. Harry tells me this time looks really new. Kitty Gallant sings it, so as time goes by, keep listening for All of Me.
Good. I just love her voice. Oh, what a day this has been.
This program of music by Harry James and his orchestra to bring you a bulletin just received in the WR newsroom. London, The Germans' news agency Transocean said today in a broadcast that the Allied invasion had begun. This, however, is an unsubstantiated enemy claim. We repeat, this is an unsubstantiated enemy claim. Stay tuned to WOR for further details. We return you now to the music of Harry James and his orchestra.
Helen, get down here.
My goodness, Henry, what's the matter? Are you all right? Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but I think something's happened.
What's happened?
I'm not sure exactly. I think what I heard it was, but it was only kind of half listening to the radio when the announcement came on.
What announcement? Listen. Yes, well, she has a lovely voice, dear. I know you like her, but I hardly think that's what you're waking up the whole house for.
No, wait a minute. Let me see if it's here on another station. Here we are, CBS.
CBS World News, Erwin Darlington speaking. The Allied invasion has started.
Oh, my.
The news to this moment is all supplied by the enemy. The Germans, through the Berlin radio, tell us that the invasion, enemy's word for it, has started. There is no Allied confirmation. Shortly after 1 a.m. Eastern Wartime, Colombia's shortwave listening station heard the Berlin radio make this announcement. Quote, "Here is a special bulletin. Early this morning, the long-awaited British and American invasion began when paratroops landed in the area of the Somme estuary. The harbor of Le Havre," the Berlin broadcast went on, "is being fiercely bombarded at the present moment. Naval forces of the German Navy are off the coast fighting with enemy landing vessels. We have just brought you a special bulletin." End quotes. That was a German radio bulletin we have repeated for you. It was heard by Colombia's shortwave listening station at the beginning of the Berlin's 1 a.m. Eastern Wartime news broadcast to North America. It was repeated in the middle of the program, and there is no confirmation from any Allied source. In fact, the War Department in Washington said it has absolutely no information on these German radio reports.
This is amazing. It's finally happened.
Oh, dear, all that work you've been putting into the factory, it's finally come to this.
Yes, and all your wonderful work saving fats and tin cans and helping with Mrs. Wickerson ever since her two sons and husband went to serve.
But, dear, he said it might only be a rumor. Let's not get excited.
Well, I've got a feeling that this isn't just a mistaken report. I think this is it.
Well, see if they're talking about it on some other station.
All right.
There, see? If NBC isn't reporting it, then it must be a mistake.
Helen, I'm telling you.
Henry, now you wake up the kids with all this carrying on.
And now, here's a bulletin that's just been handed.
Shh, listen.
This announcement comes on the heels of disclosure from Washington that our submarines have sunk 16 more Japanese cargo vessels. That's the story against the Japs. Now for the Germans. London says that British submarines have sunk 31 Nazi ships in the Mediterranean and the Aegean. 5 of them were naval craft, 7 more were damaged. And on the debit side, as far as European operations are concerned, is the loss of the United States escort carrier in the North Atlantic. The Navy flat top was a rock island and probably was sunk by Nazi bombers. There are no details, but the Navy says that our casualties were light and next of kin have been notified. The score again, 48 German and Japanese ships sunk, 10 of them damaged, 36 Jap planes destroyed. This against the loss of 1 American plane and 1 American escort carrier. Tired, bewildered Nazi legions are fleeing north of Rome tonight as victorious Allied troops continue their heavy assaults on the captured Italian troops. Just how far the Nazis will be smashed back at this time is not yet clear. However, observers predict that ultimately we'll have to retire to a mountain Rhine 150 miles north of Rome. The Vichy government says the Germans have abandoned the entire left bank of the Tiber River from its mouth to Rome. Italian citizens crowded the streets today, cheering and applauding as Allied troops poured into the city. Some sidewalk cafes were drawn, but most of the business places in Rome were closed. NBC reporter Ralph Howard said in a broadcast from Rome tonight that the Allies today brought in their first food to be distributed among the hungry populace, and added that more and more food and medical supplies will reach Rome daily. And now here's a bulletin that's just been handed to me. As I said when I first went on the air a few moments ago, the Associated Press says the Berlin radio broadcast tonight that the Allied invasion has begun, that our troops are landing at La Havre, but there is still no Allied confirmation. This may be an enemy trick. There has been no Allied confirmation, I repeat. That's the news for the moment. This is the NBC Newsroom in New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Brew some coffee, dear. I want to stay up and hear this for a while.
All right, but then I'm going back up to bed.
I'm too excited to sleep. This is it. This is the D-Day that they've been talking about. I just know it.
So far, ladies and gentlemen, all those bulletins which I have read to you come from the Associated Press from German Nazi soil. The only Allied statement we have at this hour in the morning said this: Washington, the War Department says it has no information or reports by the German radio that invasion operations have begun on the French Channel coast. Now, so far as I have pointed out, except that last bulletin from Washington, all this news is from Nazi soil. And this means, without doubt, one of three things. It may mean, first, that the Germans are merely fishing for information. The Nazis are jittery. They want to know, in the very worst way, when this invasion is really going to come. And by putting out bulletins such as you have heard so far this very evening from German sources, they may be trying to find out. The second possibility, of course, is this. In a speech not so long ago, Prime Minister Churchill was talking about the invasion. He said that when this invasion comes, there will be feints, dress rehearsals, and false alarms. Now, if these attacks are in progress, as the Germans report, those attacks, to quote the Prime Minister, could only be feints, dress rehearsals, or false alarms, in advance of the real main concerted Allied invasion attempt. And the third possibility, of course, is that this really is the invasion, and that the Germans have sent out the first word over their propaganda facilities. But so far, the War Department here in Washington said that it has no information. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the invasion news up to this moment. Stay tuned to your NBC stations, which are prepared to bring you the fullest official, authoritative news on the invasion. I return you now to the NBC Newsroom in New York.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard a report from NBC in Washington by Richard Harkness. We return you now to your regular program.
The time is now 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Wartime. Good morning, everybody. We just heard the first communique from General Eisenhower's headquarters on the invasion. Here it is in text. Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France. And we have also heard the first order of the day, the one issued by General Eisenhower, wishing Godspeed to his troops as they left the shores of Britain for the shores of northern France. He told them that they were about to embark on the Great Crusade. He reminded them that the eyes of the world are upon them, and that the hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere in the world are with you. He warned them that the task which they confront is not easy, that the enemy will fight savagely, and he urged upon them devotion to duty, perseverance in the task, and asked the blessing of God upon the great enterprise that the liberty-loving peoples of the world have undertaken this morning. The attack is against northern France. That much we have known as a result of the German bulletins which have been pouring in upon us all morning. It is only natural that the Germans should report first, since they are the objects of our attack, since they naturally feel its force before we feel prepared to announce it to the world. But now it is official. We know that the long delay, the anxious days and weeks through which we all have passed, are over. The great adventure has begun. The final chapter in the history of the Second World War is being written. And here's what the Germans
Good morning,
told us
dear.
thus far about the
How is it? Is it true? Is it really the invasion?
Yeah, this is amazing. This is the real deal. It's happening.
Well, the kids will be down in a few minutes. I've got to get breakfast on the table and then get to my hairdresser's appointment. I'm sure the girls will be simply buzzing about this morning. Turn it up so I can hear it from the kitchen.
All right.
See what they're saying on CBS, dear?
Oh, all right.
The words of the communique announced the landing were brief and cold and factual. We don't know how many men landed on enemy territory as yet. We don't know how many places they landed. We don't know whether their trip across the water was a hard one or not, constantly hampered by German aircraft. We only know that last night one man said 2 words. Eisenhower said, "Let's go," and the invasion was on. There are 1,000 stories behind the short communique which merely told us that our men have landed. Those others who have been in other amphibious landings can imagine how our men felt last night when they were finally told their long months of waiting were over. As long as these men live, the evening of June 5th will always be to them the night before D-Day. If they live to be 100, June 6th will forever be D-Day to them. As I said, the details so far have been rather scarce, but there are a few things we do know. We do know that the weather was perfect for the attempt. The tides were right, and the moon rode high above the channel. It was a full moon and a cloudless sky. It was the kind of moon that kept its light for the grandeur of its own height, so that the invasion fleet that merged with the dark blue of the channel waters, safe from the prying eyes of the German night fighters, who for weeks have maintained a vigil over the channel and over the North Sea. But our boat fighters and the American Havocs, the plane we used to call the dday-74, have been out too, chasing those reconnaissance planes to such heights that their value as observers is almost nullified. Even on the clearest night, you can't see much from 20,000 feet. And blacked out ships with flame dampeners hiding the red glow of their smokestacks are very difficult to spot. The brief communique that we received so far do not tell of the prayers that went up from thousands and thousands of our men as they slid through the dangerous uncharted minefields of the channel and approached enemy territory. The communiques do not tell us of the feelings of tension that gripped the entire invasion fleet, a feeling that grew and grew, that caught in your throat and threatened to choke you. Communiques do not tell of how men clutched their Tommy guns and fingered their carbines with hands that were cold, though the weather was warm. Communiques do not tell us of stomachs that tighten with a fear that always comes before the hour of action. It's always like that. The communique only tells us that the waiting is over, that the real showdown has come. We're here at home during these lovely early morning hours can do nothing. Nothing but hope and pray and have faith in these fighting men of ours. Now I return you to Bob Trout.
Oh, dear. You know I don't like Bob Trout. Can we go back to NBC?
All right, dear. Just don't forget to eat your breakfast.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is New York, NBC Newsroom again. Men and women of the United States, this is a momentous hour in world history. This is the invasion of Hitler's Europe, the 0 hour of the Second Front. The men of General Dwight Eisenhower are leaving their landing barges, fighting their way up the beaches into the fortress of Nazi Europe. They are moving in from the sea to attack the enemy under a mammoth cloud of fighter planes, under a ceiling of screaming shells from Allied warships. The first news flashes do not say, but a large proportion of this assault is believed to be in the hands of American men. They are making the attack side by side with the British Tommies who were bombed and blasted out of Europe at Dunkirk. Now, at this hour, they are bombing and blasting their way back again. This is the European front, once again being established in fire and blood, not only by the Americans and British, but by many allies in the fight against Axis aggression. This is the supreme test of Allied spirit and of Allied weapons. The first great military undertaking is underway. Casualties in this mammoth operation in the subsequent drive may reach a dreadful toll. The German war machine is still powerful and is still strongly entrenched. Our invasion forces are on the offensive against Nazi troops who have been ordered to die rather than to retreat. However, die or retreat they must. This attack on the shores of Europe has been made with all the strength that the Allied command can throw into battle. Eisenhower, the commander, has promised that his men will bring victory in Europe in 1944.
Dear, shouldn't you be heading off to work?
Oh, it's all right, dear. I've got plenty of... Yike!
What's the matter, dear?
I didn't realize what time it was. You're right. I've got to get to work. I'll see you later this evening, dear. Keep listening throughout the day, and I'm going to see if I can find a radio to listen to there.
Oh, maybe Mr. Carruthers has one in his office.
You're right again, dear. Of course. His son's serving overseas, so I'm sure he'll be listening in as well. It'll be hard to get any work done today.
Well, do your best, dear, and have a lovely day. And be safe on your way to work. Don't fiddle with that radio dial in your car and get into an accident. That's all we need today.
All right, I won't.
My, Madge simply outdid herself with my hair today. And now I need to get this house back in order. Oh, I know. I'll listen to Kate Smith while I'm doing my daily chores. I just love her.
Well, it's come at last. The news we've all been waiting for. D-Day and the Allied invasion of Hitler's fortress Europe. And so too our prayers for a speedy victory. Let's add our mightiest efforts to win this war.
If you are an unemployed woman, single, or a non-farm housewife with no small children, there's a place and a need for you in Forward. If we are to meet our war production goals, and we must meet them if we are to win the war, hundreds of thousands of women must get into Forward this year. If you've been thinking about entering Forward, remember most war jobs are no heavier than ordinary household tasks. And remember too, you'd be doing an important job for our country. Go to your local United States Employment Office and find where you are needed most. Do it now, today.
It's high noon in New York and time for Kate Smith, who will be brought to you every Tuesday and Thursday during the summer by the makers of Shore Gel, America's fastest-selling powdered pectin product. Here she is, Kate Smith.
Hello, everybody. Today is a day that no living American can ever forget. Invasion Day. Forged into our consciousness in letters of fire. It marks the pinnacle of weeks and months and years of anguished preparation, consolidating of our mighty forces. This is the hour of the death blow to those our enemies who have spread evil, sorrow, and suffering like a black shadow across the face of this earth. This is the day of reckoning, when America and her allies go forward to the terrible task of crushing completely and forever the enemy, who for 4.5 years have ravaged one helpless nation after another. This is the day that must mark the beginning of the downfall of Nazi Germany, and the downfall of all those who have sanctioned and aided the brief reign of terror, the cruelty, insanity, and arrogance of Hitler. Let the blow be swift and sure. Let us be strong and unswerving and perfect, strong in the assurance that we go forward in a cause which is right, in the liberation of the oppressed, and the restoration of human decency and dignity from the forces of evil. This is Invasion Day, Liberation Day. Here at home, we sit beside our radios, eagerly hanging on each word of news that flashes across an ocean around the world. We are filled with a conflict of many emotions: fear, excitement, and hope. But these emotions will not help those whom we most desire to help. They will not carry our brave fighting forces forward unless we harness those thoughts and guide them and use their power to forge an invincible weapon against the foe. Today we cannot afford to stand idly by, scattering our thoughts so haphazardly that they reap only the wind. We must concentrate them on victory and turn our earnest, united thoughts into devout, unceasing prayer to God. Wherever you are at this moment, whatever you're doing, join your prayers with mine. A prayer for victory. Pray that our crusaders may be strong, that success will crown their every effort. Pray that they may speedily accomplish their mission and bring their adversaries to unconditional surrender. Pray to our Father in heaven to look down with compassion upon this sick and sorrowing world and guide the forces of right against the forces of evil and insanity. If millions of us, every man, woman, and child in America, will lift our fervent prayers to God, those prayers will be answered. You all know the power of faith and prayer. Use that power now. Use it with every fiber of your heart and soul and mind, so that your prayers, along with mine, may reach onward and upward to encompass and aid those we love and the cause for which they crusade. Lift up your prayers for victory and for peace to him who said, "Ask, and ye shall receive." And now, Ted, what's new?
Allied invasion forces are storming ashore along northern France this noon, taking the first long step to Berlin from a bridge of ships stretching along the English Channel. And the most important news of the hour, in the words of Prime Minister Churchill, is that operations are proceeding according to plan. Never before in history has the world seen anything like the invasion armada that stands between England and France and fills the skies above. 11,000 planes, 4,000 ships, and thousands of smaller craft are in action. And when the invasion was only hours old, the good news came through that we had seized beachheads which threatened the whole Normandy Peninsula and a rail line that runs right into Paris. The British radio says that we have a firm grip on 2 beachheads and that Allied formations are advancing inland, possibly as much as 10 miles. Meantime, the German BMV agency has admitted dolefully that American tanks have been put ashore in at least one sector. D-Day and H-hour arrived between the hours of 6 and 8:16 a.m. Western Europe time, which is between midnight and 2:15 Eastern wartime here in the United States. It was at that hour that land forces under the command of General Montgomery began moving ashore along the Normandy coast in the Le Havre-Cherbourg area. As a prelude, the Royal Air Force staged a shattering 1,300 plane attack and naval guns poured their heavy fire against Nazi strongpoints. A short time later, great forces of our airborne troops began dropping out of planes behind enemy lines. And as the invasion got underway, an American correspondent rode in a plane watching the assault, and here is what he saw. No man's land is 5,000 feet below. It's somewhere between the gray channel-washed beaches on which Allied troops are swarming from their land barges and the brown fields beyond. The wink of guns flashes in the half-light of dawn in those fields comes from German fighting the invasion. And as we wheel off targets and we streak back toward the channel, dawn streaks the eastern sky. Peering down, you can see our troops scrambling ashore under a canopy of shells hurled over their heads by warships in a harbor that dents the shoreline. In the half-light, we can see the flashes from German shore batteries all along the coastline inside the harbor. By now, as we fly across the White Cape Channel, we have a bridge of ships from England to France. They range from mighty battle wagons to tiny net-like PT boats, and they include all manner of transports and landing craft. Yes, this is D-Day, H-hour, indeed. Our sponsors, the makers of Shore Gel, America's fastest-selling powdered pigment product, have allowed us today to dispense with our regular commercial announcements. This is Ted Collins inviting you to join us again tomorrow when Kate Smith speaks.
The following announcement is brought to you by the makers of the
Folks, in this, the crisis of the war, all of us want to back our boys in the attack. Here's one way of doing it. Support the 5th War Loan and buy more bonds than before. Put across the 5th War Loan. When you buy bonds, buy double.
Oh, well, that's enough for now. I better get some shopping done so I can start making dinner. Even if today's an exciting day, Henry and the kids will need to eat.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes, Johnson, what is it? I'm busy.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It's just that I'm on my lunch break and I was hoping to catch up on the latest news of the invasion. I know your son is fighting over there, so I hope you had a radio here we could listen to for a little while.
As a matter of fact, Johnson, I was just about to take a little break and have a listen myself. You're welcome to join me if you like.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Go ahead, CBS.
This is the first recording received from CBS correspondent Charles Collingwood, who is on an LST with invading forces.
Well, now we're up here on the deck, on the main deck of the LST, which is crowded and packed with vehicles of every sort. The trucks are full, just reading the names on the boxes of some of them. Here's one that says cartridges, another one says hand grenades. They're all the bags and rolls in which men are going to sleep. I was wondering what the soldiers feel like. I mean, here they are aboard the LST, their last link with a peaceful land had been cut off. They're just as sealed here as though they had severed every connection with the outside world. I wonder what they're thinking about. I wonder what they feel about everything that's going on. Let's ask one of them. Hey, soldier, come over here, will you?
Sure.
What's your name?
Staff Sergeant Alexander Ham.
Alexander Ham. Where do you come from, Alex?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
From Chicago, huh?
Yes.
What do you feel about this thing now that you're on?
Well, sir, I feel a lot better that we're on this mission here because it seems like we're doing more good than we was on the last one.
What was the last one?
It was an LFT.
That was one of the maneuvers, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was maneuvers.
Is this one any different than that one?
Yes, it is. It seems like we have a lot more equipment than we did have the last time.
More guns, I suppose.
Yes.
You think this is going to be the real thing this time?
Well, I really can't say.
You think so?
I don't know.
Does it worry you?
No, it doesn't worry me any.
Are you scared?
No.
You're all set?
Yes.
Well, that's fine, Staff Sergeant Ham.
Thank you.
Well, these kids are certainly security conscious because there's no chance of any leakage from the ship as it is at this moment. But that one wasn't going to tell us anything. I wonder whether they really do know what sort of an operation they're going on and if this really is the real thing. There's the captain coming along here. I'll ask him. Captain, do you have a minute? Can I see you?
Yes, your name?
What's your name, by the way?
Captain Wood.
Captain Wood? Well, I was just talking to one of your men, Captain, and
You know what? Officers are security-minded also, probably even more so than the men.
What sort of a briefing have you had then, Captain, or don't you want to tell us?
Well, all I can say is that I've had a briefing on this exercise.
All right, that's fine. Well, what sort of shape do you think the men are that you've got along with you? They have a lot of training?
Well, as far as I can see, from what I've seen of the men, I think they're well capable of doing any job that the exercise may demand.
Is that right? Well, that's fine. Putting words in my mouth. How does the loading go on the ship here from your point of view?
The loading on the ship seemed to have gone without any bit of trouble whatsoever.
It certainly looks smooth from where we were down below watching it. Everything came over very quickly.
Yeah, seems well organized.
Yeah, that's the Army for you, though. But how are they settling down here on board? Everybody comfortable, or as comfortable as they can be?
Yes, they are. The men seem to have been on a boat before, a ship, I should say, and seem to be okay until they take the water.
Well, I hope they don't have to take the water. Thank you very much, Captain Wood. The LST-48 is just beginning to get underway. We're pushing away from the shore where we're loaded, and we're going back to our anchorage where we will stay until we head off on this coming expedition. Our last link with the land has been cut. I return you now to the United States.
We are now back at Columbia's news headquarters in New York. Today we just heard a broadcast from London. Columbia's correspondent Charles Collingwood, a recording I should say of Columbia's correspondent Charles Collingwood, who was aboard a landing ship tank before leaving the British coast and was interviewing the men who were loaded as they started off for the invasion.
Well, why'd you turn it off, sir?
Well, to be honest, Johnson, I'm kind of mixed about this whole thing. Of course, I'm excited for our country, and I think this will be a huge turning point for the war. We've certainly all been chipping in and doing our part to help our boys.
Yes, sir, I know. It's been an honor to share the work with you at the munitions factory.
Well, it's the least I can do. But on the other hand, Danny's over there somewhere, and he's not part of the surge, but I'm sure some of his buddies are. At least there are many boys just like him with mothers and fathers at home listening in. And as brave and supportive as they all are, I'm sure they're also mighty scared. Anyway, listening to this young man on transport made me think of my own boy, and I hope he's safe wherever he is and whatever he's doing.
I know, sir.
If it's all right with you, I think I'd like to get back to work and get my mind off of this for a while. Maybe later this afternoon we can check back for any updates.
That's just fine, sir. Oh, and sir,
Yes, Johnson?
I'm sure he's okay. And when he comes home and safe and sound, we're gonna throw a big hero's party. We're all mighty proud of him, as I know you are.
Thanks, Johnson. Now I'll get back to work.
And now, Miss Osgood.
There probably isn't a person in the country today who wouldn't like to broadcast his own personal good luck message to our invasion chiefs and their troops. Well, that, of course, is impossible. So NBC has arranged the next best thing. We have asked the wives of our invasion leaders to do it for us. Mrs. Dwight Eisenhower, Mrs. Harold Stark, Mrs. Carl Spotts, Mrs. Allen Kirk, and Mrs. James Doolittle. Their husbands were not only leaders, they're also fighters, men who will share with their troops all the hardships and dangers of war. Because we know these things, we feel that the wives of these men, the women who know them so well, can speak for all of us in wishing the men their husbands command a quick trip to Berlin. We hope to present as our first guest today, Mrs. Dwight Eisenhower, wife of the commander of our invasion forces. Mrs. Eisenhower cannot be with us this morning, but she's given us a personal message to us to broadcast for her, and here are her words. This period of waiting for the invasion has been a great strain for all of us. We have been waiting and watching for the word, which finally reached us officially at 3:32 this morning. We now know that our men are attacking our enemies. We know that they will be victorious, but we also know that they have many trying hours ahead, hours in which we shall find it difficult not to be restless and unnerved. We're eager to help in some big way, and yet, if we could ask our fighting men what they would have us do, they would tell us, ours is the job to fight, yours to help, by remaining as cheerful and as busy as possible. So let's have faith, cheerfully wish them luck, and work a little harder than ever before, even if only to roll bandages for an extra hour each week. It will all count, all help to bring our men home soon. This has been a personal message from Mrs. Dwight Eisenhower, wife of the commander of our invasion forces. And now, let's hear from Mrs. Harold Stark. Her husband, Admiral Stark, is in command of all our naval forces in European theater. And what is your wish for the Admiral and his men today, Mrs. Stark?
My wish is the same as that of everyone else. May the troops have all the luck in the world so that the victory will come quicker. I want to add something more. In fact, I think we all have the same idea in the back of our minds, that it's going to take more than just plain luck.
Yes, indeed, we do need more than an ordinary share of luck. But at least we know that we have the best of everything else. Leaders, men, equipment.
But we need more than that. Our troops are launching the biggest military operation in history. Naturally, their success is our biggest concern, but we aren't helping by just thinking about it. Our own spirits will remain higher, and the war be shortened if each of one of us keep busy as possible.
Well, I understand that you yourself are a very good example of keeping busy, Mrs. Stark. But speaking of advice, tell us, have you ever given the Admiral any instructions as to how he can take care of himself?
Yes, indeed, I have sent him plenty of instructions. Carrying out those instructions is another matter. In fact, he has slept through several air raids.
Well, that sounds as though the Admiral isn't afraid of a Luftwaffe. And judging from recent operations, it doesn't look as if any of our high command is. However, the German Air Force is something to be reckoned with in this invasion. Mrs. Spotts, who is wife of Lieutenant General Spotts, commanding the Strategic Air Forces in Great Britain, should be able to tell us something about that. Mrs. Spotts?
Actually, Miss Osgood, I would rather talk about our own air forces than the Luftwaffe. As an air wife, I am tremendously proud of our air forces, especially the magnificent pre-invasion job they have done. That great softening up job will be responsible for saving the lives of thousands of American soldiers and sailors.
Well, this is true, Mrs. Spotts. And at that, though, I should think must be very reassuring to the families of those infantrymen and artillerymen and all the others who are today battling their way into Hitler's Europe.
Yes, it must help to know that air power has made it easier for the others. And it should also be the greatest comfort and pride to the families of Air Force men, especially to those families whose men are missing or have been killed in action. You'll remember Prime Minister Churchill's famous phrase, "Never have so many owed so much to so few." That is as true today as it was in 1940, for the aerial supremacy which we so surely have will cut invasion casualties to an absolute minimum.
We may have what will seem like very high casualties these first few days, Mrs. Spotts, but we know there will be nothing like what we might have had without air superiority.
That's very true. And you can be sure we do have that air superiority, for the invasion would not have been launched without it. Never in history has a great military undertaking been so carefully planned. I hope all you wives and mothers understand that. Everything has been thought out and done to give that man of yours the best chance possible of coming through this terrific action. You can be sure of that, and you can take comfort in it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Potts. And we send our good luck greetings to your husband and his airmen today. We also add on our thanks for making it safer and easier. Now, the Navy, too, has a big job in this invasion. Everything from our biggest warships to the smallest landing boat has a specific job to do. The man who was in charge of the United States Naval Invasion Task Forces, Admiral Alan G. Kirk, once summed up the Navy's responsibility very well. Just how did he put it, Mrs. Kirk?
My husband has said that when American soldiers are to be landed on foreign soil, it is the duty and the privilege of the American Navy to put those troops and their equipment ashore, keep them supplied, and to protect the landings as long as may be necessary.
That's it. And that's what Admiral Kirk and his men are really doing right now.
You see, Admiral Kirk and his staff have been busy the many months preparing and planning for this very thing. As you know, we have undertaken tremendous amphibious operations before, in Africa, in Sicily, and Italy, and in the Pacific. We've learned valuable lessons from all of these landings, sometimes at great cost. But every one of those lessons have been put to advantage as of this moment. Consequently, we can be certain that this, the biggest landing of all, will be the most successful. Here at home, we can believe in success as well as wish for it. And I hope that every one of you will put your confidence in our Navy. Theirs is a splendid and terrible responsibility, but it's one that they will surely fulfill.
And we do sincerely know that, and we believe, of course, in success, Mrs. Kirk. For we know your famous husband meant it when he said it was up to his Navy to land our troops on foreign shores and keep them supplied afterwards. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kirk, for representing the thousands of Navy families all over the country and wishing their sons good luck and successful landings. And we have another mother here in the studios today, Mrs. James Doolittle, who has a double family interest in this invasion. Her husband, General James Doolittle, who led the first aerial invasion of Japan, the famed Tokyo raid, is commanding the 8th Air Force. And Mrs. Doolittle's son, Captain James Doolittle Jr., is flying with the 9th Air Force. Mrs. Doolittle, this is a very important day for you.
It is indeed, Mrs. Osborne, but then it is for everyone. It's the moment for which we have all been waiting. And now that it's come, it's still a long march ahead to ultimate victory. The boys know that we have complete confidence in their success. However, there's an even greater job to be done, and it's taken place before. Not only on the invasion front, but on the home front as well. We'll need teamwork here, as well as there.
Well, we certainly agree with you on that, Mrs. Doolittle.
Our troops expect even more than our confidence. We need more than ever to show our courage. They expect us to keep our chins up. We know that this invasion will be costly, and as Mrs. Stark has said, there's nothing like work to take our minds off of that. And too, it makes our men happy. I've talked with so many of them who have come home from the fronts, and they are much more contented. They know that their women are actually doing something, anything to hurry victory.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mrs. Doolittle. I'm sure that all those women who are doing some kind of war work feel a very special contentment and pride today. They know that they helped make this invasion possible.
That's right. And that's why I'd like to say, especially to those mothers who have given so much to our victory, your sons are fighting to make that victory possible. General Doolittle has said to me very often, my boys are tops. They never stop to think what may happen to them. They just do their job.
Thank you, Mrs. Doolittle. I think you summed it up very well. And that is what thousands of Americans are doing today. Our soldiers, sailors, and airmen are all fighting with all their might to clear the road to Berlin. They aren't thinking of what might happen to them, they're just doing their job. And behind them is a nation not only wishing them luck, but pushing them along that road with everything it has. The wise of our invasion leaders have put it better than anyone else could possibly have done. The men have our prayers, our confidence, and our support. And now for an official announcement that was just handed to me. Tonight, at 10 o'clock Eastern Wartime, the President of the United States will speak over the NBC network.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
listening to the radio all day. It's just so exciting. I can't believe it's really happening. And all the amazing details of the battle. It's like we're right there.
Yes, I was able to listen quite a bit myself to Mr. Crothers. You know, his boy is there. I mean, not in the push, but he's serving somewhere in Italy.
Oh, this must be terribly hard for him.
Yes, I think so. But he's holding up well, and he's certainly excited about today, and hopefully this will bring the war to an end soon, so his son can come home.
Oh, that would be nice. Oh, land's sakes, this house is all at 6 and 7s because of this invasion. Well, dinner's almost ready.
All right, dear. I'll turn the radio on. The show is just starting. We can listen to Red Skelton while we get everything set up.
Oh, good.
Continuing NBC's coverage of D-Day events, the following program will be interrupted without delay for any special invasion bulletin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marvin Miller speaking to you from Hollywood on Red Skelton's farewell show. And now we'd like you to meet the star of our show, Red Skelton.
Thank you very much, Mark. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to offer a child's prayer on D-Day. The time is 7:30, the place, Junior's house, all over the world today.
Junior, come on, it's time for bed. Did you wash your face and hands good?
Yes, I did, Mommy. It's all nice and spick and span, you know. Hey, Mommy, why is everybody so excited today, huh?
Because this is D-Day.
Who's that?
D-Day?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you all about it upstairs. Come on.
Okay, let me walk upstairs. I'm too big to be carried, you know.
No, you aren't. Little boys never get too big. Besides, Mother wants to see your little face again.
You know, that's the way Papa and you used to walk upstairs with his head on your shoulder, huh?
Yes, darling.
Yeah. And we'll be back from the war soon, Mama?
Yes, dear. Very soon now.
Hey, Mommy, what is D-Day? Do-the-day? Is that what it means?
D-Day. That's the name given for the invasion.
Yeah, well, what's the invasion?
The invasion?
Yeah.
Well, that's when your Uncle Jimmy and Uncle Guy and Uncle Tug and thousands of other little juniors, just like you, who have grown up just long enough to help free a world of hatred. Now come on, say your prayers and then hop into bed.
Okay, but I don't want to say the one about the now I lay me down to sleep.
You don't?
No, I want to say my prayers tonight like you said yours, you know.
Well, all right. Wait until I light the little night candle.
Okay, you like the light of one, like my candle.
Now, there you are.
Yeah, now you kneel down beside me now, and then kneel down. Okay, now, and then you fold your hands like this. Okay. Dear God, bless me, Mommy, and bless all me little buddies, mummies tonight. Let your angels protect all the little boys in the world. And somehow, let their mummies know that they are safe. Help them not worry. Even listen to the prayers from the hundreds of folks who took guns and supplies from the little kids next door. Because they didn't realize they were sending the little boys out to fight without ammunition when they cashed in their war bonds. And bless the little boys and girls who drive their hop-up cars that waste gasoline. Also, listen to the ones who don't share their cars with their neighbors. Because they will from now on. And dear God, please help me grow up to be a real man so that I can help build a nice, clean place for everyone to live in. And don't let me be prejudiced. Make me know that we is all your children, regardless of race, regardless of religion or nationality. Let me know that we is all one. Protect all the little boys in strange lands today. And bring them back safely. Bring them back, dear God, with 2 feet so they can walk up to the gate. With 2 eyes so they can see the smiling faces on the ones that they left behind. And give them 2 arms so they can give their loved ones big bear hugs with them. And bless Mommy because of all her sons. Oh, and bless the man next door who didn't care if he got more than his share of defense work when he was doing it. Because he gets up early every morning at daylight and goes Roosevelt and all his buddies, 'cause they're working hard. And help me be brave so I can protect me mummy while Pop's away. And now, they lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
There you go. Cover up, my little buckaroo.
As a lot of you know, Red is going into the Army tomorrow morning. That really means Clem and Willie Lump Lump and Bolivar Shagnasty and J. Newton Numbskull and Deadeye and Junior are all going into the Army too. Okay, we're gonna miss all of you, Red, and our sponsor, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Red, and the cast and myself extend our very best wishes in the greatest job in the world. And as a send-off, Ozzy and Harriet are going to sing What Do We Do in the Infantry?
What do you do when your pack has got your back is stiff as starch? There's many a fall in the cavalry, but not a fall in arch. What do you do in the infantry? You march, you march, you march. What do you do in the infantry? You hike, you hike, you hike. What do you get in the infantry? A left and right, a blank. The son of a gun and the signal corps is traveling on a bike. And what do you do in the infantry? You hike, you hike, you hike. The hard way, the hard way. Swell you get there the hard way. What do you do in the infantry? You win, you win, you win. What do you do for victory? You move into Berlin. The rest of the army are riding, riding through a triumphal arch. And what do you do in the infantry? You march, march, march.
It's time for chow with the infantry. That was the mess call just blew. And then you taste the GI coffee. Oh, what that stuff can do to you. Your only consolation is the general drinks it too. But you're walking off in the infantry. You march, you march, you march. What do you do in the infantry on the day you get your dough? Well, first, if you want to keep your health, you pay off the guys you owe. Then somebody spreads a blanket out and somebody says, let's go. So what do you do on May Day? Roll! The hard way, the hard way. Gee, it's great when you make an 8 the hard way. What do you do in the infantry when you get a weekend pass? Well, you pick up a phone and make a date with some babe with lots of class. You drive about halfway out to town and the car runs out of gas. So what do you do in the infantry? Same thing, only it's on your own time, yeah!
All right, thank you very much, Ozzy and Harriet.
Sorry, folks, but time is up. This is the National Broadcasting Company. This is the beginning of the end and the end of the beginning. NBC reporters are standing by to bring you the latest invasion bulletins as they come off the wire. Stay tuned to WEAF, New York.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow Americans, last night when I spoke with you about the fall of Rome, I knew at that moment that the troops of the United States and our allies were crossing the English Channel in another greater operation. It has come to pass with success thus far. And so, in this poignant hour, I ask you to join with me in prayer. Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic, our religion, our civilization, and to set free our suffering humanity. Lead them straight and true. Give them strength in their arms, stoutness to their hearts. steadfastness in their faith. They will need thy blessings. Their road will be a long and hard one, for the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again. And we know that by thy grace and by the righteousness of our cause, our sons will triumph. They will be sore tried by night and by day, without rest, until the victory is won. The darkness will be rent by noise and flame. Men's souls will be shaken with the violences of war. For these men are lately drawn from the ways of peace. They fight not for the lust of conquest. They fight to end conquest. They fight to liberate. They fight to let justice arise and tolerance and goodwill among all thy people. They yearn but for the end of battle, for their return to the haven of home. Some will never return. Embrace these, Father, and receive them, thy heroic servants, into thy kingdom. And for us at home, fathers, mothers, children, wives, sisters, and brothers of brave men overseas whose thoughts and prayers are ever with them, help us, Almighty God, to rededicate ourselves in renewed faith in Thee in this hour of great sacrifice. Many people have urged that I call the nation into a single day of special prayer. But because the road is long and the desire is great, I ask that our people devote themselves into a continuance of prayer as we rise to each new day and again when each day is spent. Let words of prayer be on our lips, invoking thy help to our efforts. Give us strength, too, strength in our daily tasks to redouble the contributions we make in the physical and material support of the armed forces. And let our hearts be stout, to wait out the long travail, to bear sorrows that may come, to impart our courage unto our sons, wheresoever they may be. And, O Lord, give us faith. Give us faith in Thee, faith in our sons, faith in each other, faith in our united crusade. Let not the keenness of our spirit ever be dulled. Let not the impacts of temporary events, of temporal matters, of but fleeting moment, let not these deter us in our unconquerable purpose. With thy blessing, we shall prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy. Help us to conquer the apostles of greed and racial arrogances. Lead us to the saving of our country, and with our sister nations into a world unity that will spell a sure peace, a peace invulnerable to the schemings of unworthy men, and a peace that will let all of men live in freedom, reaping the just rewards of their honest toil. Thy will be done, Almighty God. Amen.
A bulletin, London. A naval officer just returned to the Supreme Allied headquarters from the French invasion beaches reports that all main points have been gained and that reinforcements are pouring across the channel in an unprecedented stream. This is the National Broadcasting Company. Continuing NBC's coverage of the invasion news of D-Day, the following program will be interrupted without delay to bring you the latest invasion news. Keep tuned to the station.
Folks, this is Bob Hope speaking from a P-38 airfield out here near Van Nuys, California. We look forward to being with these men and doing our regular show here, but of course nobody feels like getting up and being funny on a night like this. But we did want to go through with our plans and visit with these fellows because these are the same kind of boys that are flying with 11,000 planes in our big effort. What's happened over these last few hours, not one of us will ever forget. How could you forget? We sat up all night by the radio and heard the bulletins, the flashes, the voices coming from England, the commentators, the pilots returning from their greatest of all missions.
newsboys yelling in the street. And it seemed that one world was ending and a new world beginning. That history was closing one book and opening a new one. Somehow, we knew it had to be a better one. We sat there, dawn began to sneak in, and you thought of hundreds of thousands of kids you'd seen in their camps the past 2 or 3 years. The kids who scream and whistle when they hear a song. And now you can see all of them again, 4,000 ships from the English Channel, tumbling out of thousands of planes over Normandy and the occupied coast, and countless landing barges crashing with the TTDY going out, to do the job. That's the job of all of us. The sun came up and you sat there looking at the same huge black headline. That one great black word with the exclamation point, invasion. That one word the whole world has waited for, and all of us have worked for. We knew we'd wake up one morning and have to meet it face to face. The word in which America has invested everything these 30 long months. The efforts of millions of Americans building planes and weapons, shipyards, and the men who took the stuff across. Little kids buying war bonds and housewives staining bacon grease. Farmers working around the clock. Millions of young men sweating it out in camps and fighting the battles that paved the way for the headline this morning. Now the investment must pay. For this generation and all generations to come. And folks, what a wonderful thing it is that no man can price. The reward will be greater than the sacrifice. We hope that lot can go along with the prayer tonight. The prayer of a whole nation. God bless those kids across the ocean. Thank you, Francis Langford. Ladies and gentlemen, we took sort of a poll today to find out what number these boys would like to hear. Of course, we had to change our format a little due to our regular show. And these P-38 pilots to the ground crewmen here at Van Nuys Aerodrome would like to dedicate their next tune to their fellow airmen over there. And here we bring Jerry Colonna and Vera Vague under wraps tonight out to lead the Air Force song. How about that, boys, huh? kids, off to bed with you. It's late. Way past your bedtime.
That's right. Wash up and brush your teeth and get straight to bed. Oh, my goodness, Henry, what a day this has been.
Yeah, sure has. Like nothing we've ever seen before. No, I hope we ever see again.
Well, let's hope you're right. Come on, turn off the light. Let's get some sleep.
And so ends the longest day in our history. And so begins the turning point for the war. The Johnsons, and all the millions of Americans like them, men, women, and children alike, all who have given so much for this cause, are sleeping soundly. While 4,000 miles away, thousands of young men, sons, husbands, fathers, are giving everything they've got to make this world a better place. So as we all sleep safely tonight, let us give thanks to all the men who did their job. Let's honor those men who didn't come home, and let's cherish the ones who did. Thank you all for your service to this country and to the world. So thank you so much. This has been those thrilling days of yesteryear. We hope that you've enjoyed this program, a condensing of actual live radio footage and programming that aired during D-Day. I'd like to introduce the cast, if I may, playing in absolutely no particular order, but we have John Gould here. We have Don Gilbert, Kennedy, Margie Gustafson, John Corona, Kristen Vinegar, Matt Gilbert, Aaron Wilkinson, and our lovely keyboard player, Peter Hall. Thank you so much. We will be here later today doing our the Best of Command Performance, which was a show by celebrities given only to those in the Armed Forces and aired over the Armed Forces Radio Network. That'll be here at 4 o'clock today and also tomorrow at noon. And then tomorrow at 3 o'clock we will be doing D-Day all over again. So have a beautiful, wonderful day exploring the grounds and all the wonderful things that are going on here. And give a special thanks to